A poor girl appears out of nowhere and screams desperately, "Don't get on that train!" The billionaire, confused, ignores the warning and heads for his executive car. 2 minutes later, he discovers a deadly sabotage about to happen, and the girl knew every technical detail with supernatural precision. This encounter changes everything. She wasn't just homeless. It was the beginning of a truth impossible to ignore. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us what city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. The bitter Chicago winter wrapped around Grand Central Station like a fist, squeezing warmth from every corner. 8-year-old Lily Walker huddled near a heating vent, her small frame nearly disappearing beneath layers of mismatched clothes. For the past 3 months, the station had been her home, a labyrinth of platforms, waiting areas, and forgotten spaces where a child could vanish if she knew the right shadows. Lily wasn't like other children. Behind her dirt-smudged face and tangled blonde hair, extraordinary awareness flickered in her eyes. Awareness that extended beyond the physical world into realms of possibility and probability that others couldn't perceive. Today was the day. She'd seen it coming for weeks in dreams that blazed with terrifying clarity. The train, the man, the sabotage, the crash that must be prevented. At precisely 2:17 p.m., billionaire tech mogul Alexander Grant strode through the grand arched entrance, flanked by security personnel and his executive assistant, Diana Winters. Tall and commanding, Alexander moved with the confidence of a man who controlled one of America's largest technology empires, Grant Innovations. His private executive train car awaited on Platform 12 for a journey to the company's research facility in Milwaukee. Lily's heart pounded. Without hesitation, she darted from her hiding place, slipping between commuters with practiced ease. A security guard moved to intercept her, but she was too quick, diving under his outstretched arm and sliding to a stop directly in Alexander's path. "Mr. Grant," she said, her voice carrying a gravity incongruous with her small frame. "You can't board your train today." Alexander's eyebrows rose slightly, the only indication of his surprise. Diana stepped forward. "Security, please remove this child." "Wait," Alexander said, studying the girl's face. Something in her eyes gave him pause. "What did you say?" Lily drew a deep breath. "The coupling mechanism on your private car has been tampered with. The main hydraulic line has been partially severed and reinforced with a temporary seal designed to rupture at high speed. There's also been interference with the signal relay box that would prevent emergency braking." The security team exchanged glances. Diana's face hardened. "This is absurd. How would a street child know anything about—" "Let her finish," Alexander interrupted, his gaze never leaving Lily. "The sabotage bears the signature of professional work," Lily continued. "But they made one mistake. The cut in the hydraulic line shows machine precision, except for a 3mm section that veers at a 7-degree angle. The mark of a specialized cutting tool manufactured by Orion Technical Systems." Complete silence fell over the group. Alexander's face had gone completely still. Orion Technical was a subsidiary of his company, and their specialized tools were used only by certified mechanics during maintenance operations. "How could you possibly know that?" Alexander asked quietly. "The same way I know that the woman standing beside you has made 17 phone calls in the past week to a restricted number in the Cayman Islands, and that she used her master access code to enter the maintenance facility at 2:43 a.m. 3 days ago." Diana's face drained of color. "This is preposterous. You can't possibly believe—" "Security," Alexander said, his voice like ice. "Please escort Ms. Winters to my office and ensure she remains there, and get maintenance to Platform 12 immediately for a full inspection of my car." As Diana was led away, protesting vehemently, Alexander knelt before Lily. "Who are you?" "Someone who's seen what happens if that train leaves the station," she replied simply. "And someone who knows things I shouldn't be able to know." 2 hours later, Alexander sat in his downtown office, staring at the maintenance report in disbelief. Everything the girl had described had been found, down to the precise angle of the cut in the hydraulic line. Diana had broken down under questioning, revealing photographs of the sabotage on her phone and admitting to setting up offshore accounts, though she insisted she was merely following orders from someone higher up. Lily sat across from him now, cleaned up and wearing new clothes hastily purchased by Alexander's staff. She looked almost ordinary except for her eyes, too knowing, too haunted for a child. I've answered your questions, Alexander said. Now answer mine. How did you know? I see things, Lily replied, her small hands folded in her lap. Things that haven't happened yet. Things that could happen. Sometimes I see things that already happened but that nobody saw. Precognition. Alexander couldn't keep the skepticism from his voice despite the evidence before him. I don't know what it's called. I just know what I see. And you've been living in the train station? Where are your parents? A shadow crossed Lily's face. My father is gone. My mother, she's been gone longer. You're telling me you're homeless? Why hasn't child services picked you up? Because I know how to stay invisible when I need to. Lily's eyes suddenly intensified. But that's not important right now. Diana wasn't working alone. There are others in your company involved in this, including your Vice President of Research and Development, Howard Stevens. Alexander's jaw tightened. That's a serious accusation against one of my most trusted executives. Check the hidden partition on his company server. Password, Prometheus 218. You'll find everything there. The entire plan, the real purpose of Project Lighthouse, and the list of children they've been monitoring. Project Lighthouse? That's classified. Even most of our board doesn't know the details. It was supposed to be an artificial intelligence breakthrough, Lily said quietly, but they've twisted it. They discovered that certain children with abilities like mine, can enhance the predictive capabilities of the AI. They've been identifying us, studying us. Some have already been taken to the research facility in Nevada, not Milwaukee. Alexander's mind reeled. How could you possibly... Because my father told me, Lily interrupted, her eyes suddenly brimming with tears. Before he disappeared, my father was Michael Walker. The name hit Alexander like a physical blow. Michael Walker had been one of Grant Innovation's most brilliant researchers, who had vanished 6 months ago after raising concerns about ethical breaches in the company. His disappearance had been ruled as an unfortunate accident when his car was found abandoned near Lake Michigan. Michael was investigating anomalies in Project Lighthouse, Lily continued. He discovered they were experimenting with amplifying natural intuitive abilities in children through technological means. When he found out what they were planning, he built in safeguards, biometric locks keyed to his genetic markers and to yours. To mine, Alexander echoed. You were his emergency failsafe. He trusted you, even though you never knew about me. Lily's voice trembled slightly. He also created a backdoor protocol that only a blood relative could activate. He taught me how before he... She trailed off, unable to finish. Alexander stared at the small girl before him, seeing for the first time familiar features, the shape of her eyes, the determined set of her jaw, features that reminded him painfully of his former colleague. You're saying that Michael Walker was your father? Lily nodded. And that makes you my godfather, though you never knew it. Dad said if anything happened to him I should find you, but only when the time was right, only when I saw it clearly enough. Alexander's phone buzzed with an incoming message. He glanced down to see a text from his head of security. Sir, we've accessed Stephen's private server. You need to see this immediately. Everything the girl said, it's all here. He looked back at Lily, seeing her in an entirely new light. I think, he said carefully, we have a lot more to discuss. Lily nodded solemnly. We don't have much time. The others are waiting to be found. What others? The other children, the ones with gifts, the ones they've been hunting. Her eyes seemed to look through him, beyond the walls of the office, to something only she could see, and the alignment is coming. When it does, everything changes. Alexander spent the next 48 hours in a storm of revelations. Howard Stevens had been taken into custody by private security. The company's most secure servers had been locked down, and Lily had been installed in a guest suite in Alexander's Lakeshore Drive penthouse under the watchful eye of his most trusted security personnel. The evidence was overwhelming and disturbing. Project Lighthouse, originally conceived as a breakthrough predictive AI system, had evolved into something unrecognizable under Stevens's direction. The project team had discovered that certain children exhibited unusual neurological patterns that, when mapped and integrated into the AI architecture, exponentially enhanced its predictive capabilities. Stevens hadn't just been studying these children, he'd been systematically gathering them, using a network of operatives posing as social workers and educational specialists to identify and extract those with the most promising abilities. I still don't understand how you survived on your own all this time, Alexander said to Lily, as they sat in his home office, surrounded by holographic displays of Project Lighthouse data. Lily's small fingers traced patterns on the leather armchair. Dad prepared me. He knew they might come for him, so he taught me how to hide, how to survive. And my abilities, they help me see danger before it comes. These abilities, can you control them? Not really. They come as dreams mostly. Sometimes flashes when I'm awake. Dad was helping me understand them before he... She swallowed hard. Before he had to go away. Alexander noted her careful avoidance of certain words. The psychological evaluation he'd quietly arranged had confirmed that Lily was dealing with severe trauma, processing her losses through carefully constructed euphemisms. And these other children you mentioned, the ones with gifts like yours. Can you tell me about them? Lily closed her eyes, her face taking on a concentrated expression that made her look far older than her years. There's a boy in Denver who can walk in other people's dreams. They haven't found him yet, because his ability lets him sense when they're looking for him. There's a girl in Seattle who can move things without touching them. Small things, but she's getting stronger. There's a boy in Austin who feels what others feel, even from far away. And you can see all of them in your visions? Not always clearly, but I know they're out there, and I know they're in danger. Her eyes snapped open. The people who worked with Stevens, they're still looking for us. They need us for when the alignment comes. The alignment? What alignment? Dad called it the harmonic convergence. It happens every 127 years, a special alignment that amplifies abilities like ours. The last one was in 1898. The next one is coming in less than 3 months. Alexander leaned back, struggling to reconcile his rational, scientific worldview with the impossible things Lily described. Impossible things that continued to prove true. The data they'd recovered from Stevens' server mentioned the alignment as well, referring to it as a temporal energetic nexus point, critical to the final phase of Project Lighthouse. According to what we found in Stevens' files, they believe this alignment will allow them to permanently enhance the connection between children like you and their AI system. But the files don't explain why they need this connection. Control, Lily said simply. With us connected to their system, they can predict anything. Market crashes, technological developments, political upheavals, months or years before they happen. And if you can predict something perfectly, you can control it, Alexander finished, a chill running through him. But why children? Why not adults with similar abilities? Because our minds are still developing. We're more adaptable, more open to possibilities adults can't see anymore. She hesitated. And because it hurts us less. Hurts you? Lily rubbed her temples unconsciously. Using these abilities has a cost. The more we use them, the more it takes from us. Headaches, nosebleeds, exhaustion. Adults can't handle it. Their minds break. But children are more resilient. We bend instead of breaking. That's why they want us. The intercom buzzed, and Alexander's head of security, James Reeves, entered with a tablet. Sir, we've completed the deep scan of the Nevada facility mentioned in Stevens' files. You need to see this. The tablet displayed satellite imagery of what appeared to be a research complex disguised as a private school nestled in the mountains outside Las Vegas. Heat signature analysis revealed unusual power consumption and evidence of subterranean facilities far larger than the visible structures would suggest. There are children there, Lily said quietly, not even looking at the tablet. 5 of them, but they're not the only ones. There are 17 others they've identified across the country. They're accelerating their timetable because of the alignment. Alexander and James exchanged looks. Her accuracy so far had been uncanny, but this was beyond explanation. We need to shut this down, Alexander said firmly. James, prepare the legal team. We're going to need federal intervention, but carefully managed. I don't want this becoming a media circus that puts more children at risk. There's something else, Lily interrupted. Something I haven't told you yet. Her voice had grown smaller, almost afraid. Alexander knelt beside her chair, putting himself at her eye level. What is it, Lily? The safeguards my father built into the system, the ones keyed to your biometrics and mine, they're more than just access protocols. He left something hidden in the core architecture of Project Lighthouse, a way to expose everything they've done and locate all the children they've been tracking. That's good news, isn't it? We can use that to help shut them down. Lily shook her head slowly. It's not that simple. The protocol requires both of us, your authorization and my inabilities. Dad designed it as a genetic psionic interface. Your DNA provides the access, but my mind has to navigate the system. That sounds dangerous, Alexander said cautiously, especially given what you've told me about the cost of using your abilities. It is dangerous. The last time I tried to see that far, I was unconscious for 3 days, but it might be the only way to find all the children before the alignment comes. Her eyes met his, solemn and ancient in her young face. I'm willing to take that risk. Alexander felt a responsibility settling over him like a physical weight. This child, his colleague's daughter, his goddaughter, had already endured more than any child should, and now she was volunteering to put herself at further risk. We'll find another way, he decided. With the evidence we already have, we can... There isn't time, Lily interrupted. They know by now that Diana and Howard have been discovered. They'll be moving the children, covering their tracks, and the others, the ones not yet taken, they'll accelerate their plans for them. As if to underscore her point, James's tablet chimed with an urgent alert. Sir, we've just detected a massive data purge at the Nevada facility. They're destroying evidence. Alexander's jaw tightened. How soon can we get there? The corporate jet can be ready in 30 minutes. We'll be on the ground in Nevada in under 4 hours. Make it happen. Alexander turned back to Lily. We're going to need your help, but I want to be clear about something. Your safety comes first. We're not activating any protocol that puts you at serious risk. Understood. For the first time since he'd met her, Lily smiled, a small, brave gesture that transformed her face from solemn to childlike. Dad said you'd say that. He said you always put people before projects. That's why he trusted you. The revelation struck Alexander like a physical blow. Michael Walker had been a brilliant researcher, but they'd never been close friends. The idea that Michael had trusted him so completely, enough to name him as guardian to his daughter, was humbling. Your father was an extraordinary man, Alexander said softly. Yes, Lily agreed. And he knew something they don't understand about children like me. What's that? That our abilities aren't just tools to be used. They're part of something bigger, something connected to the alignment itself. The people behind Project Lighthouse think they can harness our abilities for their benefit, but there's more happening than they realize. What do you mean? Lily's expression became distant, as though she were listening to something beyond human hearing. The alignment isn't just a cosmic event that amplifies our abilities. It's a door, a moment when the barriers between what is and what could be become thin. The people who took these children think they can use that moment to gain power, but the alignment has its own purpose, which is, I don't know yet, Lily admitted. I just know that we're supposed to be together when it happens. All of us with abilities, not connected to machines, but to each other. Alexander's scientific mind struggled with these concepts, but he couldn't deny the evidence of extraordinary perception standing before him in the form of this remarkable child. Then we'll find them, he promised. All of them. Lily nodded, her expression determined despite the shadows under her eyes. We need to start at the Nevada facility. That's where the core of Project Lighthouse is housed, the central hub that contains data on all the children. And that's where we'll find this protocol your father created. Yes, but we need to hurry. Her voice took on an urgency that sent a chill down Alexander's spine. They're preparing to move everything, not just the data, but the children too. And once they're separated, they'll be much harder to find. Alexander stood. Decision made. James, adjust the security detail. We leave for Nevada in 20 minutes. As his team hurried to prepare, Alexander looked down at Lily, struck again by the incongruity of such knowledge and burden residing in one so young. Are you sure about this? He asked quietly. Lily's reply was simple but resolute. Some paths we don't choose. They choose us. The Nevada desert spread beneath Alexander's private jet like a vast copper sea. Lily pressed her face against the window, mesmerized by the landscape passing below. Despite everything she had experienced and the weight of knowledge she carried, moments like these reminded Alexander that she was still, fundamentally, a child. One who had been denied the simple pleasures of childhood for too long. Have you ever flown before? He asked, taking the seat across from her. Lily shook her head. Dad and I mostly took trains. He said they were safer because they stayed on the ground. Alexander felt another pang of connection to Michael Walker. He had often expressed a similar sentiment about preferring rail travel, one of his many endearing eccentricities that colleagues had teased him about. "Your father and I worked together for almost 7 years," Alexander said, "but he never mentioned having a daughter." "He was protecting me," Lily replied simply. "When my abilities started showing up when I was 4, he knew it might put me in danger. So he kept me secret. We lived in a little house outside Chicago that wasn't in his name. I had tutors instead of school. The only time I went to the city was when Dad would take me on train rides." She turned from the window, her expression darkening. "That's how they found us. Someone on the train noticed me staring at a man who was going to have a heart attack. I told Dad, and he helped the man get medical attention before it happened. Someone from your company was on that train. They started watching us after that." The jet began its descent toward a private airstrip outside Las Vegas. James approached with final security briefings. "We've secured cooperation from local authorities, but we're keeping this low profile," he explained. "The facility is legally owned by Nexus Educational Systems, a shell company 3 levels removed from Grant Innovations. On paper, it's a specialized boarding school for gifted children." "Which isn't entirely false," Alexander noted grimly. "We have satellite confirmation of activity consistent with evacuation procedures," James continued. "Multiple vehicles have departed in the last 2 hours. However, power consumption indicates the facility is still operational." "They're not abandoning it," Lily said with certainty. "They're transferring the most important assets, including the children. But the core systems of Project Lighthouse are too complex to move quickly. Those will still be there." Alexander studied the tactical display on his tablet. "Our legal team has secured an emergency inspection warrant based on evidence of corporate espionage and potential child endangerment. That gives us access, but we'll need to move fast before they contest it." The jet touched down smoothly on the private airstrip, where 3 unmarked SUVs awaited them. Within 30 minutes, their convoy approached the perimeter of what appeared to be an upscale private school campus, nestled against the foothills of the Spring Mountains. "It's beautiful," Alexander remarked, studying the Spanish-style architecture with its red-tiled roofs and carefully landscaped grounds. "A perfect cover." "The real facility is underneath," Lily said. "The school is just the surface, like an iceberg." As they approached the main gate, Alexander felt Lily stiffen beside him. She pressed her hands to her temples, her face contorting in pain. "Lily? What's wrong?" "They've activated countermeasures," she gasped. "Not physical ones, psionic disruption fields. They're designed to interfere with abilities like mine. They know we're coming." Alexander exchanged alarmed glances with James. This was beyond any technology Grant Innovations officially developed. "Can you handle it?" he asked Lily gently. She nodded, though her face was pale. "It hurts, but I can push through it. They designed these fields to contain children who haven't learned to focus their abilities. Dad taught me techniques to maintain concentration even through interference." At the gate, they were met by a woman in a tailored suit who introduced herself as Dr. Eleanor Prescott, Executive Director of the Nexus Institute for Exceptional Youth. Her smile was professional but didn't reach her eyes. "Mr. Grant, this is quite unexpected. Had we known you were planning to visit, we would have prepared a proper welcome." "This isn't a publicity tour, Dr. Prescott," Alexander replied coolly, presenting the legal documents. "This is an official inspection related to corporate assets potentially being misappropriated for unauthorized purposes." Dr. Prescott's smile faltered only slightly as she examined the documents. "Of course, we have nothing to hide here at Nexus. We simply provide specialized education for children with unique learning profiles." Her gaze shifted to Lily, and though her expression remained pleasant, Alexander felt the girl press closer to his side. "And who is this young lady?" Before Alexander could answer, Lily spoke up. "I'm his goddaughter. He's looking after me while my parents are away." The simple lie, delivered with perfect composure, impressed Alexander. Dr. Prescott seemed to accept it with a nod, though her eyes lingered on Lily a moment too long. "Well then, shall we begin the tour? I assume you'd like to see our administrative offices first?" "Actually," Alexander said, "I'd like to see the subterranean research facilities, specifically those housing the Project Lighthouse servers and associated equipment." Dr. Prescott's composure cracked for just an instant. I'm afraid I don't know what you're referring to, Mr. Grant. We have standard server rooms for our educational systems, of course, but nothing by that designation. Then perhaps you can explain why this facility draws enough power to run a small city, despite having only 24 students enrolled, or why thermal imaging shows extensive underground structures not reflected in any of the building plans filed with county authorities. The standoff was interrupted by the arrival of a balding man in a lab coat who hurried toward them with obvious agitation. "Eleanor, we have a situation with Subject 7. He stopped abruptly upon seeing Alexander and his team. "Dr. Mercer," Dr. Prescott said tightly. "Mr. Grant was just leaving. He seems to have been misinformed about the nature of our facility." "No one's leaving," Alexander said firmly, "and I think we've established that I'm not misinformed." He turned to James. "Secure the premises. No one enters or exits without authorization." As his security team moved to implement the order, Dr. Prescott's professional facade crumbled. "You have no idea what you're interfering with, Grant. This project goes beyond your authority, beyond your comprehension." "I comprehend enough," Alexander replied. "You've been experimenting on children for your own gain, and it ends today." Lily suddenly gasped, doubling over. "They're doing something to the children downstairs. I can feel it. They're in pain." Dr. Mercer stared at Lily with sudden recognition. "The Walker girl," he breathed. "We thought you were lost when your father had his accident." "Where are they?" Alexander demanded, his voice dangerous. "Level 3, Section B," Lily whispered through clenched teeth. "Hurry!" What followed was a chaotic rush through the facility. Dr. Prescott attempted to block their access to the elevator system, but James's team quickly overrode the security protocols. As they descended, Lily guided them through the labyrinthine underground complex with unerring accuracy, despite never having been there before. They found 3 children in a sterile laboratory setting, connected to ominous equipment through neural interfaces. Medical staff scattered as Alexander's team burst in, some attempting to destroy data before being restrained. "Get these children disconnected, carefully," Alexander ordered as medical personnel from his team rushed forward. "Where are the others?" "Gone," Lily said, her voice hollow. "They transferred them this morning. These 3 were too unstable to move immediately after their last integration session." The children, 2 boys and a girl, none older than 12, were pale and unconscious, but alive. As the medical team worked to safely disconnect them from the equipment, Alexander turned to Dr. Mercer, who had been detained by security. "Where have the other children been taken?" The scientist's eyes darted nervously between Alexander and Lily. "You don't understand what's at stake. The convergence is coming. If we're not prepared—" "Where are they?" Alexander demanded. "I don't know the final destination," Dr. Mercer insisted. "The transport locations operate on a need-to-know basis, but it's all in the central database. Everything about Project Lighthouse, including the tracking data for all identified subjects. Take us there," Alexander ordered. The central server room was a vast chamber of humming machinery, bathed in the blue glow of status lights. Massive cooling systems kept the supercomputers at optimal temperature as they processed unimaginable amounts of data. "This is it," Lily whispered, her eyes wide. "The heart of Project Lighthouse." Dr. Mercer was compelled to provide access to the system, though he warned that certain security protocols would prevent full access. "The core architecture is protected by biometric locks that only the project directors can bypass." "We don't need their biometrics," Alexander said, looking at Lily. "We have our own." Understanding dawned on Dr. Mercer's face. "The Walker protocol, so it's true, he did build a back door. We suspected but could never find it." Alexander approached the main console. "What do we need to do, Lily?" She stepped forward hesitantly. "There should be a secondary authentication panel. Dad designed it to look like normal maintenance access." Sure enough, beneath the main console was a smaller terminal with an unusual interface. A standard biometric scanner alongside what appeared to be a neural interface headset. "This is it," Lily confirmed. "You need to place your hand on the scanner while I use the interface. Together, we can activate the protocol." Alexander hesitated. "You said this could be dangerous for you." Lily's expression was solemn but determined. "More dangerous to let them continue. Those children don't have much time." With reluctance, Alexander nodded. As he placed his hand on the scanner, Lily carefully positioned the neural interface. The moment it activated, her body went rigid, eyes flying open in shock. "Lily!" Alexander cried, reaching for her with his free hand. "Don't break the connection," she gasped. "I can see everything. All the children, all the facilities, everything they've done." The main screens in the server room suddenly came to life, displaying maps, data streams, and surveillance footage from multiple locations. Files began opening automatically, revealing the full scope of Project Lighthouse, a program far more extensive than Alexander had imagined. Lily spoke in a strained voice, words tumbling out as her mind processed the flood of information. 17 children currently in custody, 23 more identified for acquisition, facilities in Nevada, Alaska, New Mexico, and a primary integration center being prepared in Montana. The harmonic convergence expected in exactly 79 days, 14 hours. Her voice became increasingly strained. "Dad's protocol is working. It's transmitting everything to secure servers and alerting authorities at multiple levels. The safety measures are engaging, locking down all remote facilities until children can be recovered." Suddenly, Lily screamed, her body arching in pain. "Shut it down!" Alexander shouted, trying to remove the interface. "No!" Lily's eyes were wide, tears streaming down her face. "Almost done. The other children, I can see them all now. I can reach them." The screens displayed images of children across the country, in schools, homes, on streets, all suddenly stopping whatever they were doing, looking up as if hearing a silent call. "I'm showing them the way," Lily whispered. "To safety. To us." Then her eyes rolled back and she collapsed, the interface falling away as Alexander caught her. "Lily, Lily, can you hear me?" For several terrifying moments she lay limp in his arms, then slowly her eyelids fluttered open. "Did it work?" she asked weakly. Alexander looked up at the screens, now displaying a message. "Walker protocol complete. System lockdown initiated. Protective services alerted. Facility coordinates transmitted." "Yes," he said, cradling her gently. "It worked. You did it." Lily smiled faintly before her eyes closed again, her small body finally surrendering to exhaustion. As emergency medical personnel rushed forward to attend to her, Alexander held her hand, a fierce protectiveness surging through him. Whatever came next, he knew with absolute certainty that his life had changed forever. He had a purpose now that transcended corporate empires and technological innovations. He had a child to protect and others to find before time ran out. 3 weeks passed in a whirlwind of legal battles, covert operations, and careful navigation of bureaucratic systems. Alexander's lakeside estate outside Chicago had been transformed into a sanctuary and command center. The sprawling property, with its private security and isolated location, provided the perfect refuge for what was becoming an extraordinary gathering. Lily had recovered from her ordeal at the Nevada facility after 2 days of deep sleep. Though the experience had left subtle changes, a new intensity to her gaze, occasional moments when she would stare into space as if seeing beyond ordinary reality. The doctors Alexander had consulted were baffled by her neural scans, which showed patterns of activity they'd never encountered before. Now she sat cross-legged on the mansion's sunroom floor, surrounded by 4 other children, the first of those they had managed to locate and bring to safety. Mason Turner, 11 from Denver, could enter and influence others' dreams. He was a solemn boy with dark eyes that seemed to hold secrets from worlds visited only in sleep. Olivia Parker, 9 from Seattle, could move small objects with her mind. Her telekinetic abilities were limited but growing stronger, a fact demonstrated by the pencil currently floating in lazy circles above her upturned palm. Ethan Collins, 10 from Austin, was an empath who could sense emotions from remarkable distances. Quiet and often overwhelmed, he wore noise-cancelling headphones that helped him filter the constant barrage of feelings from those around him. The newest arrival was Zoe Garcia, 7 from Phoenix, who possessed an uncanny ability to communicate with animals. Since her arrival 3 days ago, the estate's resident wildlife had been behaving strangely. Birds perching near her window, deer approaching the lawn boundaries, even the normally aloof security dogs following her adoringly. Alexander watched from the doorway as the children huddled together, speaking in low voices. Despite their different backgrounds and abilities, they had formed an immediate bond. Something Lily had predicted would happen. "They're connecting," came a voice beside him. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a neurologist specializing in childhood development, had joined his impromptu team after her research on heightened neural plasticity in children had brought her to his attention. It's remarkable. They've known each other less than a week, but they're already developing their own communication patterns. It's more than that, Alexander said quietly. Watch. As if on cue, the children fell silent, forming a circle with their hands linked. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, simultaneously, they all looked up at the ceiling, their expressions reflecting identical wonder. What just happened? Dr. Mitchell whispered. They're practicing, Alexander replied. Lily calls it weaving, combining their abilities to create something stronger than any of them can do alone. The children broke their circle, all talking excitedly at once. Only Lily remained quiet, her expression thoughtful as she glanced toward Alexander and Dr. Mitchell. Mr. Grant, she called, we found another one. Alexander entered the room, Dr. Mitchell following with barely concealed fascination. Another child with abilities? Lily nodded. Her name is Harper Wright. She's in Louisville, Kentucky. She can see possibilities, different ways things might happen. Like your precognition? Dr. Mitchell asked. Different, Mason spoke up. Lily sees what will happen. Harper sees all the things that could happen, branching out like a tree. How do you know this? Alexander asked. The children exchanged glances before Ethan explained. When we connect, we can reach further. I felt her emotions. She's scared. People around her think she's making things up, but she's not. And I saw her in my dream last night, Mason added. She showed me where she lives, where she hides when she's afraid. Zoe, the youngest, piped up. The birds know her too. They say there's a girl who talks to them about the different paths they could fly. Alexander had learned to take these revelations in stride, though each new demonstration of their combined abilities still astonished him. Do you know exactly where to find her? 1423 Willow Creek Lane, Lily said promptly. She's living with her grandmother. Her parents sent her away because they thought she needed special help for her delusions. Dr. Mitchell made a note on her tablet. I'll coordinate with the team to make contact. We've refined our approach based on the last few retrievals. She needs to come soon, Olivia said urgently, the pencil dropping as her concentration broke. They're looking for her too. The they required no explanation. Despite the shutdown of the Nevada facility and the arrest of several key figures, the organization behind Project Lighthouse hadn't been completely dismantled. Evidence suggested multiple international connections and resources beyond what they'd initially estimated. We'll bring her here safely, Alexander assured them, just like we did with all of you. After the children returned to their activities, Alexander and Dr. Mitchell retreated to his study, where James and Elena Vasquez, the legal expert managing the increasingly complex protective custody arrangements, were waiting. Progress report, Alexander requested, settling behind his desk. Elena spoke first. We've secured emergency guardianship orders for all 5 children currently in residence, plus preliminary approval for the Kentucky girl. The court has been remarkably cooperative given the unusual circumstances. The classified evidence from the Nevada facility helped, James added. No judge wants to be responsible for returning these kids to a situation where they might be exploited. What about the others? Alexander asked. The data Lily accessed suggested dozens more children with potential abilities. Dr. Mitchell consulted her tablet. We've identified 17 with high confidence. 9 are already in protective monitoring situations, not here, but safe with families or trusted institutions that have been quietly alerted. The remaining 8 are priorities for contact and potential relocation, with Harper Wright at the top of the list. And the convergence? This was the question that kept Alexander awake at night. Lily's insistence about the coming cosmic alignment and its significance had been reinforced by data recovered from Project Lighthouse, which contained extensive astronomical calculations and predictive models. 58 days, James said grimly. Whatever it is, it's coming soon. The astrophysicists we consulted confirmed there is indeed an unusual planetary alignment occurring, combined with a peak in solar activity and the Earth passing through a particularly dense region of cosmic radiation. But they can't confirm any of the effects Project Lighthouse was predicting, Elena pointed out. The whole concept of amplified psychic abilities remains firmly in the theoretical realm as far as mainstream science is concerned. Not to those children, Alexander said quietly, and not to the people who were willing to kidnap and experiment on them to harness those abilities. A knock at the study door interrupted them. It was Lily, her expression troubled. "You should come," she said simply. Alexander followed her to the East Wing media room, where the other children were gathered around a large television. Breaking news banners flashed across the screen as a reporter stood outside what appeared to be a research facility in flames. Authorities are still investigating the cause of the explosion at the North Star Research Campus outside Anchorage, Alaska. Initial reports suggest a catastrophic equipment failure, though sources close to the investigation have not ruled out sabotage. North Star, a subsidiary of Global Dynamics Corporation, has declined to comment on the nature of the research conducted at this remote facility. "That's one of their places," Ethan said, his voice shaking. "I can feel the fear from there, even this far away. People are hurt." "They're destroying evidence," Lily said, her eyes fixed on the screen. "They know we're finding the children, so they're eliminating facilities that could be traced back to them." Alexander felt a cold weight in his stomach. "Were there children at that facility?" Lily shook her head. "No. They had already moved them, but there was important equipment there. Specialized interfaces designed to connect children to their AI systems." Mason looked up, his dark eyes troubled. "They're getting desperate. In my dreams last night, I saw men burning papers and breaking computers. They know time is running out." "Time until what?" Alexander asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Until the convergence," Olivia replied, as if it were obvious. "Everything changes then. Either they have us connected to their machines or—" She trailed off, looking to Lily. "Or we connect to each other instead," Lily finished. "That's what they're afraid of. That's what my father discovered that made them silence him. The convergence isn't just about amplifying our abilities. It's about transformation, evolution." The implications hung in the air, too vast for immediate comprehension. Alexander's phone buzzed with an urgent message from James. "Security breach at Perimeter Sensors Sector 7, investigating now." "All of you stay here," Alexander instructed, trying to keep his voice casual. "I need to check on something with security." But as he turned to leave, Lily caught his arm. "They're here," she whispered. "They found us sooner than I saw." Before Alexander could respond, the mansion's security alarm activated, its urgent tone filling every room. James's voice came through the emergency system. "Intruder alert, East Perimeter. All security personnel to defensive positions. All residents to safe rooms immediately." The children looked to Alexander with varying degrees of fear and determination. He made a split-second decision. "Everyone to the panic room now. You know the drill we practiced." As they hurried through the mansion's corridors toward the fortified safe room built into the center of the house, Alexander's mind raced through contingencies. The estate's security was state-of-the-art, with multiple redundancies and fail-safes, but he had underestimated how quickly their opponents would locate them. Halfway to the safe room, Lily suddenly stopped, her eyes widening. "Wait! There's someone else here. Someone like us!" "Lily, we don't have time," Alexander urged, hearing distant sounds of confrontation from the estate grounds. "No, you don't understand. She found us on her own. She's been traveling for days, following visions. She's here to help." Before anyone could stop her, Lily turned and ran toward the south wing of the mansion. Alexander followed, cursing under his breath as the other children trailed behind, unwilling to be separated. They found her in the conservatory, a girl of about 12 with copper-colored hair, wearing travel-worn clothes and a backpack. She stood calmly amid the tropical plants, as if she had been expected. "Harper," Lily said, though they had never met. "You came." The girl nodded. "I saw all the ways this could happen. This was the best path, even with the danger." Her gaze shifted to Alexander, unnervingly direct. "They've come with tranquilizers and containment equipment. They don't want to hurt the children, just take them. But they'll eliminate adults who interfere." Alexander stared at her, processing the calm delivery of this terrifying intelligence. "How many?" 12 operatives, 3 vehicles, but there's something else." Harper's expression became troubled. "There's someone with them who's like us, someone they're using to track us. He doesn't want to help them, but they're controlling him somehow." A new alarm sounded, indicating breaches at multiple access points. Whatever time they'd had was running out. "The safe room," Alexander insisted. "All of you now." But the children exchanged glances, seeming to communicate without words. Then, to Alexander's astonishment, they formed a circle, holding hands with Harper immediately integrated into their formation. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "We need to get to safety." "This is how we stay safe," Lily said, her voice taking on a strange resonance. "Together." As Alexander watched in disbelief, a visible change came over the children. Their linked hands began to emit a soft blue luminescence. Their eyes, when they opened them, shared the same glow. The air in the conservatory seemed to thicken, vibrating with energy that made the tropical plants sway, though no wind blew. "Get behind us, Mr. Grant," Mason said, his voice oddly adult. "They're coming." The conservatory doors burst open. 3 figures in tactical gear rushed in, equipped with what looked like specialized weapons. They stopped short at the sight of the children. "Stand down," the lead operative ordered. "We're only here for the children. No one needs to get hurt." Alexander moved protectively toward the children, but found he couldn't approach their circle. Some invisible force held him back. "You should leave now," Harper said to the intruders, her voice eerily calm. "We've seen all the ways this ends. None of them are good for you." The lead operative raised his weapon, some kind of dart gun. "Last warning, stand down and release the children." What happened next occurred so quickly Alexander could barely process it. As the operative fired, the dart stopped mid-air, suspended by Olivia's telekinesis. Simultaneously, all the operatives clutched their heads, dropping to their knees as Ethan projected waves of disorienting emotion. Outside, animals began to gather. Birds, squirrels, even the security dogs, responding to Zoe's silent call. Most shocking of all, the operatives' eyes glazed over as Mason infiltrated their dreams while still awake, creating waking nightmares that left them paralyzed with fear. Through it all, Lily and Harper remained focused, their combined precognitive abilities seemingly guiding the group's coordinated defense. "They're coming in through the east wing," Harper announced. 3 more. Without breaking their circle, the children began to move as one, gliding across the floor toward the threat, drawing Alexander in their wake like a leaf caught in a powerful current. For the next 20 minutes, a surreal dance unfolded throughout the mansion. The children moved from room to room, neutralizing threats before they materialized, always one step ahead of the intruders. Security cameras showed James and his team regaining control of the perimeter, assisted by inexplicable interventions. Intruders suddenly falling unconscious, equipment failing at crucial moments, even the estate grounds themselves seeming to conspire against the attackers as routes emerged to trip running figures. When it was over, all 12 intruders had been secured without a single shot fired. The children's circle finally broke, leaving them exhausted but triumphant. "That was awesome," Zoe exclaimed, the first to recover her childlike enthusiasm. Alexander could only stare at them in wonder and newfound concern. What he had just witnessed went far beyond what any of them had previously demonstrated. Together they had become something else entirely, something powerful enough to repel a coordinated attack by trained operatives. "How did you do that?" he finally managed to ask. Lily looked up at him, suddenly just a tired little girl again. "We practiced. Like I told you, we're stronger together." "But the cost," Alexander began, noticing the physical toll. All the children showed signs of strain. Nosebleeds, trembling hands, dilated pupils. "Worth it," Harper said simply. "I've seen what happens if they take us. This pain is temporary." As medical personnel attended to the children and security processed the captured intruders, Alexander retreated to his study, mind reeling. What he had witnessed changed everything. Not just his understanding of these children's abilities, but the very stakes of what they were facing. The convergence was coming, and he was beginning to understand it wasn't just an astronomical event. It was a crucible that would transform these extraordinary children in ways he could barely comprehend. The aftermath of the attack brought significant changes to Alexander's estate. Security was completely overhauled with advanced systems that even Alexander's wealth had difficulty procuring on short notice. The captured intruders provided valuable intelligence, though most were simply hired mercenaries, with limited knowledge of their employers' true objectives. One captive proved more illuminating, a gaunt 13-year-old boy named Daniel Matthews, who had been forced to use his psychometric abilities to track the other children. By touching objects associated with them, he could sense their location. Under gentle questioning from Dr. Mitchell, Daniel revealed he had been in custody for over 2 years, kept compliant through a combination of isolation, medication, and threats against his elderly grandfather. They had photographs of my grandpa, he explained. His thin shoulders hunched defensively as he sat in the estate's medical wing. They said they'd hurt him if I didn't help them find the others like me. Your grandfather is safe now, Alexander assured him. We've arranged protective custody with round-the-clock security. No one will threaten either of you again. Tears welled in Daniel's eyes, the first genuine emotion he'd shown since his rescue. Can I see him? As soon as the doctors clear you. He's being brought here tomorrow. The boy's presence brought their number to 7, each with distinct abilities that seemed to complement the others in ways that even Dr. Mitchell's extensive research couldn't fully explain. 2 weeks after the attack, Alexander called a meeting in the estate's library. The room had been transformed into a combination classroom and research center with interactive displays, comfortable seating areas, and walls lined with books on everything from quantum physics to ancient mythology. The children gathered around the large central table, where a holographic display showed a star chart with a countdown timer. 37 days, 8 hours until the convergence. We need to talk about what happened during the attack, Alexander began. What you did as a group was unprecedented. The children exchanged glances, a silent communication that had become increasingly common among them. We call it weaving, Lily explained. It's like braiding our abilities together to make something stronger. But it's more than just combining your individual talents, Dr. Mitchell observed. When you formed that circle, your brainwave patterns synchronized. We've been analyzing the data from the monitoring systems throughout the house. For those 20 minutes, you functioned as a single neural network. It feels that way, Ethan said quietly. Like we become one mind with different hands. But it hurts, Zoe added, the youngest and most direct. Like stretching a muscle too far. Dr. Mitchell nodded. We've observed the physical effects. Increased intracranial pressure, minor capillary ruptures, elevated stress hormones. It's not sustainable for long periods. It will get easier, Harper said, with the calm certainty that characterized her statements about the future. The more we practice, the stronger our connections become. That's what concerns me, Alexander admitted. Each time you use these abilities, there's a physical cost. I'm responsible for your safety, and I can't allow you to put yourselves at risk, even for self-defense. Mason, who rarely spoke except to share dream insights, looked up from the book he'd been absently flipping through. Mr. Grant, have you ever learned to play a musical instrument? The question seemed so unrelated that Alexander blinked in surprise. Yes, piano. Why? Did your fingers hurt when you first practiced? Of course, but... And did you get stronger the more you practiced? Did the pain lessen as your muscles adapted? Alexander saw where the boy was leading. This is different. We're talking about potentially permanent neurological damage. No, Lily interjected. It's exactly the same. Our brains are adapting to something they were designed to do, just like your fingers were designed to have the potential for playing piano, even if it hurt at first. Alexander looked to Dr. Mitchell for support, but she appeared thoughtful rather than alarmed. There is evidence of neuroplasticity at work, she admitted. Their recovery times are decreasing after each session. What took days after the Nevada incident now takes hours. Their systems are adapting. And we don't have a choice, Daniel added softly. The newest addition to their group had been quiet until now. They won't stop coming for us, and the convergence won't wait either. The mention of the convergence shifted the mood in the room. Alexander had commissioned research from top astronomers and physicists, confirming that an unusual cosmic alignment was indeed approaching. A complex configuration of planets, solar activity, and Earth's position relative to the galactic center that occurred approximately every 127 years. What exactly do you believe will happen during this convergence? He asked the children directly. Again, they shared that wordless communication before Lily answered. It's a doorway, a moment when the barriers thin between what is and what could be. A doorway to what? The next stage, Harper said. For us, and for others like us, around the world. You're talking about evolution, Dr. Mitchell realized. Accelerated neurological evolution triggered by cosmic radiation patterns. That's the scientific explanation, Mason agreed. But it's also something older, something that's happened before, throughout history. He opened the book he'd been browsing. an anthropological study of shamanic traditions. Every culture has stories about children born with special gifts during times of celestial significance. They're called different things: seers, healers, dreamwalkers, but the patterns are the same. The difference this time, Lily continued, is that someone discovered a way to predict it and tried to control it. That's what Project Lighthouse was really about, not just using our abilities, but harnessing the convergence itself to direct human evolution the way they wanted. The implications were staggering. Alexander struggled to reconcile his scientific worldview with what these children were describing and what he himself had witnessed. If this convergence is so significant, he asked carefully, why haven't more mainstream scientists identified it? They have, Olivia said, manipulating the holographic display to show scientific papers and news articles. They just don't know what they're seeing. Look, studies about unusual solar activity, unexplained gravitational anomalies, even medical reports about increased incidence of certain neurological patterns in children born after the last major solar storm. Alexander studied the collected research with growing unease. And you believe all children with these abilities need to be together when this convergence happens? Not all, Harper clarified, but a critical mass, enough to form a stable network. And if you're not together? Dr. Mitchell asked. Chaos, Daniel whispered. I've touched objects from the last convergence, old things from 1898. I've felt the aftermath when it happened without preparation. The Spanish flu pandemic, Mason added, the global upheaval that followed. Those weren't just historical accidents. They were aftershocks of uncontrolled psychic energy released by children with abilities who weren't properly connected during the convergence. That's why they want us, Lily said, to control the convergence energy, direct it toward their goals. But that's not what it's for. It's meant to be free, to flow naturally. Alexander found himself at a crossroads of belief. His rational mind wanted to dismiss these claims as fantastical, yet he couldn't deny the extraordinary abilities these children had already demonstrated. How many more children do we need to find? He asked finally. 5, Harper answered promptly. There are others with abilities, but these 5 are essential for a stable core during the convergence. We've already started reaching out to them in dreams and visions. You've been contacting them? Alexander hadn't been informed of this development. We had to, Ethan explained. After the attack, we realized time was running short. Mason can reach them in dreams, and with all of us supporting him, the connections are stronger. Alexander ran a hand through his hair, a rare gesture of frustration. This goes beyond our agreement. You can't make these decisions without consulting me first. We did try to tell you, Zoe said with a child's blunt honesty. I have been really busy with all the security stuff and the lawyers. The accusations stung because it contained truth. The logistics of protecting these children legally and physically had consumed much of Alexander's attention. Meanwhile, they had been developing their abilities and connections in ways he hadn't fully appreciated. Tell me about these 5 children, he said, making a conscious effort to refocus. Harper manipulated the holographic display, bringing up 5 profiles with limited information. Ryan Winters, age 12, Boise, Idaho. He can influence electronic systems with his mind. Sophia Chen, age 9, Portland, Oregon. She can heal physical injuries by touch. The twins, Aiden and Emma Taylor, age 10, Chicago. They can share consciousness, experiencing what the other experiences even at a distance. And Michael Robinson, age 11, New Orleans. He can see energy fields around living things. And you've contacted all of them through dreams? All except Michael, Mason said. Something's blocking him. We think they might already have him. The implication hung heavy in the air. If one of these critical children was already in enemy hands, their task had just become significantly more complicated. We need to move quickly, Lily urged. Each day closer to the convergence, our abilities get stronger, but also more unstable, and theirs will be hunting harder for us and the others. Alexander made a decision. James and I will coordinate recovery teams for the 4 we can locate. Dr. Mitchell will prepare the East Wing for new arrivals. As for Michael Robinson in New Orleans, I know where he is, Daniel said suddenly. Everyone turned to him in surprise. When they were using me to track others, I sensed him. He's at a facility they call the Garden. It's disguised as a private hospital for children with neurological disorders. Can you find it again? Alexander asked. Daniel nodded grimly. I'd never forget that place. I was held there myself for the first 6 months after they took me. The revelation brought a somber mood to the room. These children had endured traumas that would break most adults, yet they remained focused on the larger mission that had brought them together. "One more thing," Lily said, her expression serious. "When we were connected to the lighthouse system in Nevada, I found something in the deepest files, something about my father that I haven't told you yet." Alexander gave her his full attention. "What is it?" He wasn't just trying to protect children with abilities. He was researching the convergence itself because, she hesitated, because our family has a history with it. His grandmother, my great-grandmother, was one of the children from the 1898 convergence. She left journals describing what happened, predictions about this one. "Where are these journals now?" Dr. Mitchell asked, unable to hide her scientific curiosity. "Hidden," Lily replied. "Dad said they weren't safe with us, so he concealed them somewhere even I don't know. But he told me they contain instructions, a guide for what we need to do when the convergence comes." "And you're just mentioning this now?" Alexander couldn't keep the edge from his voice. "I needed to be sure I could trust everyone here," Lily answered with a maturity that sometimes made Alexander forget she was only 8 years old. "And I needed all of us together to help me remember the location. Dad buried it in my subconscious, a memory that can only be unlocked when enough of us are connected." "A distributed memory key," Dr. Mitchell murmured. "Fascinating. We think with the 7 of us we might be strong enough to retrieve it," Harper added, "but it would require a deep weaving, deeper than anything we've attempted so far." Alexander looked at each child in turn, weighing his responsibilities against the inexorable approach of the convergence. "What are the risks? Significant strain," Dr. Mitchell answered before the children could minimize the dangers. "Based on previous observations, a sustained deep connection could cause elevated intracranial pressure, possible seizure activity, temporary sensory disruptions. It could hurt us," Lily translated bluntly, "but not permanently. And we need those journals. They're the only guide we have for what comes next." The choice was impossible. Allow these children to risk their health in pursuit of answers, or proceed blindly toward a cosmic event with potentially global consequences. "Tomorrow," Alexander decided finally, "we'll make all medical preparations today, ensure everyone is in optimal condition, and attempt this memory retrieval tomorrow morning when your energy levels are highest." The children nodded, satisfied with the compromise. "In the meantime," he continued, "no independent dream contacts or weaving without supervision. You need to conserve your strength." As the meeting dispersed, Alexander found himself standing before the holographic countdown. 37 days until an event he barely understood, with 7 extraordinary children under his protection and 5 more to locate. The weight of responsibility was unlike anything he had faced in his corporate career. Dr. Mitchell joined him, her expression thoughtful. "You know, in all my years of research into exceptional neurological development, I never imagined anything like this. Do you believe them?" Alexander asked quietly. "About the convergence, its significance." She considered the question carefully. "I believe they believe it, and after what I've witnessed these past weeks, I'm inclined to trust their perception over conventional science. They're seeing patterns we've missed, connections our instruments can't detect." "That's not exactly reassuring." "No," she agreed with a small smile, "but it is extraordinary. Whatever's coming, Alexander, we're witnessing the next stage of human potential unfold before our eyes. The question isn't whether to believe it, but how to nurture it responsibly." Her words stayed with him as he made final security arrangements for the night. From his office window, he could see the children in the garden, laughing, playing, momentarily free from the burdens of their abilities and the approaching convergence. They looked so normal in that moment, yet he knew they were anything but. They represented something both wondrous and terrifying, evolution in action, accelerated by cosmic forces beyond human control. Tomorrow, they would attempt to unlock Lily's hidden memory and recover the journals that might guide them through the coming transformation. Alexander could only hope they contained the answers they so desperately needed. As darkness fell over the estate, he made a silent promise to these remarkable children under his care. Whatever came with the convergence, they would face it together, and he would protect them with everything in his power, even if that meant accepting that some things were beyond his understanding or control. Morning arrived with a sense of expectation that seemed to vibrate through the estate. The children had spent a restless night, their growing abilities making them increasingly sensitive to one another's dreams and thoughts. By breakfast, they were simultaneously exhausted and keyed up, picking at their food while exchanging meaningful glances. Alexander had transformed the estate's meditation room into a controlled environment for the memory retrieval attempt. Medical monitoring equipment lined one wall, supervised by Dr. Mitchell and a neurologist who had signed exhaustive confidentiality agreements. The center of the room held a circle of cushions arranged on a thick carpet, surrounded by a ring of salt that Lily had insisted upon, an ancient protection method mentioned in her fragmented memories of her father's instructions. "Are you certain you want to proceed?" Alexander asked the children one final time as they settled onto the cushions. "There's no shame in waiting until we better understand the process. We don't have time to wait," Harper replied, her normally calm voice tinged with urgency. "I've been seeing fragments of possibilities all night. The paths are narrowing." "What does that mean?" Dr. Mitchell asked, adjusting a neural monitor on Ethan's temple. "It means events are solidifying," Harper explained. "When something important is approaching, the possible futures start collapsing into fewer and fewer paths. Right now I can only see 3 main branches left, and 2 of them are—" She trailed off, unwilling to articulate what she had seen. "We need to do this," Lily said firmly. "Today." With reluctance, Alexander nodded to Dr. Mitchell to proceed. The children formed their circle, each taking the hands of those beside them. As they had practiced over the past weeks, they closed their eyes and began the careful process of synchronizing their breathing and heartbeats, the first step in the weaving that would join their minds. For several minutes, nothing seemed to happen beyond the gradual alignment of their vital signs on the monitoring equipment. Then, like a wave washing over them, a visible change moved through the circle. Their joined hands began to emit the now familiar soft blue luminescence, spreading up their arms and across their bodies until they all glowed with a gentle radiance. "Neural synchronization occurring," Dr. Mitchell reported quietly, watching the displays. "Brainwave patterns harmonizing across all subjects." The air in the room seemed to thicken, creating a subtle pressure against eardrums and skin. The salt circle around the children began to vibrate minutely, individual grains dancing in place without scattering. "We're connected," Lily's voice came, though her lips didn't move. Somehow her words were simply present in the room, as if transmitted directly to the minds of those watching. Beginning memory retrieval sequence. What followed was unlike anything Alexander had witnessed in their previous weaving sessions. The blue luminescence intensified around Lily specifically, concentrating at her temples and the center of her forehead. Her face contorted in concentration, occasional winces suggesting the process was not without pain. "Pressure is building," Dr. Mitchell warned, watching the monitors. "Intracranial readings approaching cautionary levels." Alexander moved to intervene, but Harper's voice stopped him. Another projection with outspoken words. "Don't break the circle, we're close." The tension in the room mounted as the children's vital signs reflected increasing strain. Nosebleeds started simultaneously for Mason and Olivia. Ethan's breathing became labored. Zoe whimpered softly. Just as Alexander was about to override their wishes and stop the process, Lily gasped. A sharp intake of breath followed by words that tumbled out in a rush. 16th letter, 8th book, 3rd shelf, eastern wall, library, summer house, Lake Geneva. Blood unlocks the final key. The blue glow faded abruptly, and all 7 children collapsed backward onto their cushions, the circle broken. Medical staff rushed forward, administering oxygen and checking vital signs as Alexander knelt beside Lily. "Lily, can you hear me?" Her eyelids fluttered open, pupils so dilated her eyes appeared nearly black. "I remember," she whispered. "The journals. They're at your family's summer house. Dad hid them there because he knew it would be the last place they'd look, somewhere connected to you, not him." Alexander's mind raced. The Lake Geneva property had been in his family for generations, a sprawling Victorian summer home on Wisconsin's most exclusive lakeshore. He hadn't visited in years, maintaining it mostly out of nostalgia. "How would your father have accessed my family property?" "You invited him once," Lily said weakly. "For a weekend research retreat 5 years ago. He took the opportunity to hide the journals there, knowing that if anything happened to him, I would eventually find my way to you." The memory surfaced slowly. A think tank weekend with his top researchers, including Michael Walker. Alexander had indeed hosted it at the Lake Geneva house, finding the isolated setting conducive to creative thought. "And the blood key?" he asked, concerned by the ominous phrasing. "Biometric lock," Daniel explained, recovering more quickly than the others due to his limited participation in the weaving. "The journals are probably in a container that requires genetic confirmation to open, likely keyed to your family line and the Walker family line. My father built redundancy into everything," Lily added, sitting up slowly with Dr. Mitchell's help. "He knew that either you or I would need to be present to access the journals." Alexander made a quick decision. "James, prepare the helicopter." "Dr. Mitchell, are the children stable enough to travel?" After quick medical assessments, Dr. Mitchell confirmed that while exhausted, the children had suffered no lasting damage from the weaving. Their recovery time continues to improve. Remarkable adaptation. 2 hours later, Alexander's private helicopter touched down on the sprawling lawn of the Geneva Lake estate. The Victorian mansion stood like a sentinel from another era, its turrets and gabled roof silhouetted against the afternoon sky. A caretaker had been dispatched ahead to open the house, but Alexander had instructed him to remain outside during their visit. What they sought required privacy. The children moved through the mansion with quiet reverence, sensing its history in the way that old houses store memories in their walls and floors. Lily led them unerringly to the library, a 2-story room lined with built-in bookshelves and dominated by a massive stone fireplace. "Eastern wall," she murmured, crossing to the shelves that caught the morning sun through stained glass windows. "Third shelf, 8th book." Her fingers traced along leather-bound volumes until she found what she sought, a collection of Thoreau's essays that looked unremarkable among its companions. Pulling it from the shelf, she carefully opened it to reveal that the pages had been hollowed out, creating a cavity containing a small silver key. "16th letter," she continued, examining the bookshelves again. After a moment, she smiled. "P. The 16th letter is P." Her gaze moved along the shelves until she found a collection of works by Edgar Allan Poe. Behind this volume was a small keyhole in the wooden shelf itself, nearly invisible unless one knew to look for it. When the silver key turned in the lock, a section of shelving clicked and swung outward, revealing a hidden compartment containing a wooden box inlaid with intricate patterns of copper and silver. "I've never seen this before," Alexander said in amazement. "This house has been in my family for generations, but I had no idea this hiding place existed." "It didn't," Lily explained. "Dad created it during his visit. He was very good with his hands. He could build or modify almost anything without leaving evidence of his work." The wooden box bore no visible lock or opening mechanism, only a small metal plate on its surface. "The blood key," Harper said softly. "It needs genetic confirmation." Alexander hesitated only briefly before pressing his thumb against the plate. A tiny needle extended almost imperceptibly, taking a minuscule sample before retracting. Nothing happened. "It needs both of us," Lily realized, placing her own small thumb against the plate. Again, the sampling mechanism activated. This time, the box responded. Seams appeared where there had been none before, and the lid lifted slightly with a soft hiss of equalizing pressure. Inside, wrapped in preservation material, lay 3 leather-bound journals, their pages yellowed with age. "My great-grandmother's accounts of the 1898 convergence," Lily breathed, "and my father's research notes on the coming one." Alexander carefully lifted the journals from their resting place. "Let's take these back to the estate where we can study them properly." But as they turned to leave, Harper suddenly stiffened, her eyes widening. "We need to hurry. They've found us, not here, but they've located the estate. They're planning an assault within hours." "How?" Alexander demanded. "Our security, thermal satellite imaging," Mason interrupted, his eyes unfocused as if seeing a distant vision. "They identified the unique heat signatures our weaving generated this morning. They've been scanning constantly since the last attack." Alexander was already pulling out his phone to alert James when Lily placed a hand on his arm, stopping him. "Don't call," she said urgently. "They're monitoring communications. We need to assume all electronic contact is compromised." The implications were chilling. If their opponents had access to satellite technology and communications monitoring, their resources far exceeded what Alexander had estimated. "Then we don't go back to the estate," he decided. Not directly. We need a secure location to regroup and assess these journals. I know where, Lily said with sudden certainty. Dad prepared for this too. There's a facility in the Smoky Mountains, a research outpost officially abandoned by Grant Innovations 3 years ago, but secretly maintained as a fallback position. Alexander stared at her in astonishment. I shut down the Tennessee Research Station when we consolidated operations. It was decommissioned. On paper, Lily agreed. But Dad convinced the decommissioning team to leave the core infrastructure intact and off the books. He installed independent systems and supplies. It's completely self-contained. No external communications or power requirements that could be traced. And you're only mentioning this now. Alexander couldn't keep the frustration from his voice. I didn't remember until we recovered these, Lily explained, gesturing to the journals. Dad compartmentalized the information in my mind to protect it. Different triggers unlocked different memories. There was no time to debate. If Harper's vision was accurate and her predictions had proven unfailingly correct so far, they had only hours before their primary sanctuary would be compromised. James, Alexander addressed his head of security, contact the pilot. Change of plans. The journey to the Smoky Mountains facility required multiple transportation changes and careful measures to avoid tracking. By nightfall, they had arrived at what appeared to be an abandoned research complex nestled in a remote valley, accessible only by a single winding road that had been officially removed from most maps. Home sweet home, Daniel murmured as they approached the darkened buildings, at least for the next few weeks. Inside, the facility proved to be far from abandoned. Once Lily activated the hidden power systems, lights revealed a fully functional research center, with living quarters, laboratories, and a central operations room that could have been mistaken for a military command center. How your father planned for everything, Alexander said to Lily as they settled into the main conference room with the recovered journals spread before them. He knew what was coming, she replied simply. He'd been researching the convergence for years before he even joined Grant Innovations. Our family history gave him insights others didn't have. As doctor, Mitchell helped the children settle into their quarters and assess the facility's medical equipment. Alexander and Lily began the careful process of examining the journals. The oldest, dating from 1898-1899, was written in a delicate feminine hand. Elizabeth Walker, Lily's great-grandmother, who had been 12 years old during the previous convergence. The accounts were extraordinary. Detailed descriptions of abilities manifesting in children across North America and Europe, spontaneous connections forming between them, and the transformative effects of what she called the Great Alignment. Most disturbing were her descriptions of those who had attempted to harness or control these emerging abilities for their own purposes. Wealthy industrialists and government agencies who had gathered children with gifts for study and exploitation. The parallels to Project Lighthouse were undeniable. History repeating itself, Alexander murmured as he turned the fragile pages. Not repeating, Lily corrected. Evolving. Each convergence builds on the last. Great-grandmother writes that the 1898 event was more powerful than the one in 1771, which was stronger than 1644. The energies compound. Michael Walker's research notes provided the scientific framework for what his grandmother had experienced firsthand. Detailed calculations of astronomical alignments, analysis of solar radiation patterns, and complex neurological studies built a compelling case for what the children had been describing all along. A recurring cosmic event that catalyzed evolutionary leaps in human consciousness, manifesting most powerfully in the developing brains of children. Most valuable were the specific instructions for the approaching convergence, a detailed protocol for gathering and preparing the children with abilities, protecting them during the transformative event, and guiding them through the process of integration afterward. According to this, we need a minimum of 12 children with complementary abilities to form a stable core group, Alexander noted, scanning the requirements. We currently have 7, with 5 more identified, and only 32 days remaining, Harper added, joining them after settling in. The paths continue to narrow. I can now see only 2 possible outcomes. Successful integration or failure? Alexander asked. Harper's expression was grave. Success isn't guaranteed, even if we gather all 12. The convergence itself is only the beginning. What comes after depends on choices made during the event itself. As they continued studying the journals late into the night, Alexander was struck by the weight of responsibility that had fallen to him. What had begun as a simple act of protection for one remarkable child had expanded into a mission with potentially global consequences. According to Michael Walker's notes, the aftermath of an uncontrolled convergence could include widespread neurological disturbances in sensitive individuals, weather pattern disruptions, and social upheaval, as human consciousness struggled to integrate the evolutionary energies without proper guidance. Conversely, a properly managed convergence could usher in accelerated human development, with the gifted children serving as anchors and guides for the broader evolutionary process. We need to recover the remaining 5 children, Alexander decided as dawn approached. And we need to prepare this facility for the convergence itself. Starting with Michael Robinson in New Orleans, Lily agreed. The others we can reach through dreams, but he's being blocked. We'll need to extract him directly. The path ahead was clearer now, though fraught with challenges. 32 days to locate and gather 5 extraordinary children, prepare them for a cosmic event beyond conventional understanding, and ensure they were ready to serve as the vanguard for the next stage of human evolution. As the children finally succumbed to exhaustion, Alexander remained awake, studying Michael Walker's final journal entry, written just days before his disappearance. If you're reading this, Lily has found her way to Alexander, and the pieces are coming together as I hoped. The convergence cannot be stopped, but it can be shaped. These children, these remarkable, beautiful children, will either be instruments of control in the wrong hands or catalysts for liberation in the right ones. The difference lies not in the cosmic forces themselves, but in the intentions we bring to them. Evolution without compassion is merely power. Evolution with compassion is transcendence. The words resonated with something deep within Alexander, a truth he had always intuited but never fully articulated. Whatever came with the convergence, the human element remained essential. These children needed not just protection and preparation, but love and understanding to guide their extraordinary gifts toward benevolence. With renewed determination, he began planning the rescue operation for Michael Robinson. Time was short, the opposition formidable, and the stakes unimaginably high. But for the first time since this journey began, Alexander felt they had a map for the challenging path ahead. The final days before the convergence passed in a blur of activity. The rescue of Michael Robinson from the New Orleans facility had been successful, but narrowly so, resulting in injuries to 2 of Alexander's security team and a harrowing helicopter extraction under cover of a manufactured power outage. The 11-year-old boy arrived traumatized and withdrawn, his ability to perceive energy fields having been systematically exploited by his captors. The remaining 4 children were located and brought to the mountain facility through less dramatic means, though each retrieval came with its own challenges. The Taylor twins, Aidan and Emma, had been hiding in plain sight in Chicago, protected by a school counselor who had recognized their unique connection and kept them off official records. Ryan Winters had nearly crashed the helicopter sent to retrieve him by unconsciously interfering with its electronic systems in a moment of panic. And Sophia Chen, the healer, had been reluctant to leave Portland, where she had been secretly treating neighborhood children for everything from broken bones to leukemia. Now, with less than 24 hours until the convergence, all 12 children were gathered in the facility's central chamber, a space that had been transformed according to the detailed specifications in Michael Walker's journals. The room's dimensions had been precisely calibrated, conductive materials embedded in the walls and floor, and a complex array of crystals and copper coils arranged in geometric patterns around a central platform where the children would gather for the event. Dr. Mitchell had been skeptical of these seemingly mystical preparations until she observed the measurable electromagnetic effects they produced. It's creating a controlled field that amplifies and stabilizes the neurological patterns the children generate when they weave, she explained to Alexander as they made final adjustments. Your colleague was a scientific genius, even if his methods appear unorthodox. The children themselves had changed noticeably as the convergence approached. Their abilities had intensified, becoming both more powerful and more unstable. Olivia could now move objects weighing hundreds of pounds, but suffered crushing migraines afterward. Mason's dream-walking had extended to waking visions that sometimes left him unable to distinguish between realities. Ethan had developed a protective shell of emotional numbness to cope with the increasingly overwhelming feelings he sensed from others. Most concerning was Lily, whose precognitive abilities had expanded to the point where she sometimes responded to conversations that hadn't yet happened, her perception slipping between present and future in ways that left her disoriented and exhausted. "It's the pressure of approaching timelines," Harper explained, herself struggling with the proliferation of potential futures crowding her mind. As the convergence gets closer, the barriers between what is and what could be are already thinning. Alexander had established a rigorous monitoring protocol, with the children under constant medical supervision and their abilities tested only under controlled conditions. But as the final hours approached, even these precautions seemed inadequate against the cosmic forces gathering around them. "The journals indicate the actual convergence will last approximately 72 minutes, Alexander noted, during the final planning session with Dr. Mitchell and James. During that time, the children will experience the peak of their abilities, followed by what Michael Walker described as neural recalibration, a process that permanently alters their brain structure. "And our role during this time?" Dr. Mitchell asked. "Essentially to protect them from external interference and monitor their vital signs. The process itself is beyond our control or intervention once it begins." Alexander couldn't keep the concern from his voice. "According to the journals, they'll be extremely vulnerable during the recalibration phase. Any disruption could cause permanent damage. Security is as tight as possible," James assured him. "Triple perimeter, counter-surveillance measures active, and we've implemented the electromagnetic shielding system to mask any unusual energy signatures during the event." "It won't be enough," came Lily's voice from the doorway. She stood there in her pajamas, looking small and impossibly young despite the ancient wisdom in her eyes. "They're coming. All of them. They've pooled their resources for one final attempt to control the convergence." Alexander knelt to her level. "How do you know, Lily?" "I can see them gathering. Different groups that were once competing are now working together. They've tracked the energy build-up to this region, though they don't have our exact location yet." Her expression was solemn. "They'll find us just as the convergence begins." "Then we evacuate now," James said immediately. "We have contingency locations." "No," Lily interrupted. "We can't move. The preparations are specific to this location. The alignment of the facility, the materials in the walls. Dad chose this place for precise geographical and geological reasons. If we leave, the convergence will still happen, but it will be chaotic, uncontrolled." "Then we stand and fight," James said grimly. "Not that either," Lily replied. "Fighting would disrupt the energetic field we need to maintain. Violence during the convergence would corrupt the entire process." "Then what do you suggest?" Alexander asked, recognizing the impossible position they were in. Lily exchanged a look with Harper, who had appeared silently behind her. "We've discussed it with the others. We think we can create a protective barrier, not a physical one, but a field of diverted attention, like a perception filter that makes them unable to focus on this place, even if they're looking right at it." "Is that possible?" Dr. Mitchell asked, scientific curiosity overcoming her skepticism. "We've been practicing," Harper explained. "Mason can project dream states into waking minds. Ethan can influence emotional responses. The twins can create shared consciousness experiences. Together we think we can create a bubble of altered perception around the facility." "But the cost," Alexander protested, remembering the physical toll their abilities extracted. "Maintaining something like that during the convergence itself will be difficult," Lily acknowledged, "but necessary. It's part of the process. Our first act as a unified consciousness will be protection, not just of ourselves, but of those who would interfere. By preventing them from reaching us, we're also preventing them from harming themselves by disrupting the convergence energies." The wisdom and compassion in her statement left Alexander momentarily speechless. These children, despite everything they had endured at the hands of those who sought to exploit them, were still concerned with protecting their would-be captors. "Let us try," Lily urged. "It's what we're meant to do." After further discussion and careful review of vital statistics and risk assessments, Alexander reluctantly agreed. The alternative, a direct confrontation with unknown forces during the convergence, carried even greater risks. As night fell on the eve of the convergence, the facility hummed with tension and anticipation. The children gathered in the central chamber for final preparations, arranging themselves in the complex geometric pattern detailed in Michael Walker's journals. They had practiced this configuration daily, refining their positions based on how their individual energy fields interacted. "It's like a living circuit," Ryan Winters explained, his affinity for electronic systems giving him unique insight into the arrangement. "Each of us is a component with specific functions. Together, we create something greater than the sum of our parts." Alexander watched from the observation area, where he and the core team would monitor the process without interfering with the delicate energetic balance. The sight of 12 children preparing to channel cosmic forces beyond scientific understanding struck him as both beautiful and terrifying. "Are you afraid?" he asked Lily during a quiet moment as final adjustments were made to the monitoring equipment. She considered the question with characteristic thoughtfulness. "Not of the convergence itself. That's natural, meant to be. I'm afraid of failing the others, of not being strong enough to help guide them through it." "You won't be alone," Alexander reminded her. "You have 11 others with you, each with their own strengths." Lily smiled, a moment of childlike vulnerability breaking through her solemn demeanor. "And we have you. Dad was right about you, you know. He said you might not understand everything at first, but you would protect us without trying to control us. That's rarer than you might think." The simple statement touched Alexander deeply. Through all the extraordinary events of recent months, he had indeed remained focused on the children's well-being, rather than the potential applications of their abilities, a perspective that apparently set him apart from others who had discovered their existence. "Try to rest now," he advised. "Tomorrow will demand everything you have." But rest proved elusive for everyone in the facility. As midnight approached, Harper reported the first confirmation of their fears. Search teams were converging on the general area, using advanced detection equipment to track the unusual energy signatures emanating from the children as their abilities intensified in proximity to the convergence. "They'll pinpoint our location within hours," James reported grimly. 6 separate groups, heavily equipped, approaching from different vectors. "Then we implement the perception barrier as planned," Alexander decided. "Full lockdown protocols, minimal electronic emissions, and the children begin their protective weaving at dawn." The remaining hours passed in tense preparation. By sunrise, external sensors confirmed what Harper had foreseen. Multiple teams within a 5-mile radius, converging on their location with determination, if not precise coordinates. In the central chamber, the 12 children gathered in their assigned positions. Unlike previous weaving sessions, they didn't hold hands. Instead, they sat or stood at specific points in the geometric arrangement, connected by lines of copper inlaid in the floor, and the precisely positioned crystal formations between them. "The physical connections aren't necessary anymore," Lily explained when Alexander questioned the change. "We're already linked mentally. The copper and crystals just help direct and amplify the energy." The perception barrier began as a subtle shimmer in the air around the facility, visible only as a slight distortion, like heat waves rising from sun-baked asphalt. Monitoring equipment showed all 12 children in deep concentration, their brainwave patterns synchronizing in complex harmonies that Dr. Mitchell compared to orchestral music. "It's working," James confirmed, watching perimeter sensors. "The search teams are moving past our location without pausing. Some are walking within 100 yards of the main building, but showing no indication they can see it." Alexander felt a momentary relief, but it was short-lived. As the morning progressed, the children showed increasing signs of strain. Nosebleeds affected several simultaneously. Ethan began trembling uncontrollably. The Taylor twins' skin took on an alarming pallor. "They can't maintain this level of exertion until the convergence," Dr. Mitchell warned, studying the medical readouts. "Their systems are already approaching critical stress levels." Before Alexander could respond, Lily's voice sounded in his mind, not spoken aloud, but somehow present in his consciousness. "It's time. The convergence is beginning." Outside, the sky took on a peculiar quality, not darkening exactly, but shifting in color and texture, as if reality itself was bending slightly. Instruments throughout the facility registered electromagnetic fluctuations far beyond normal parameters. The air grew thick with a tangible energy that raised goosebumps on exposed skin. In the central chamber, the children's arrangement shifted subtly as they responded to unseen forces. The copper lines in the floor began to glow with a blue-white light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with their combined heartbeats. The crystals positioned between them captured this light, refracting it into complex patterns that danced across the walls and ceiling. Neurological synchronization at 87% and climbing, Dr. Mitchell reported, her scientific detachment wavering as she witnessed phenomena beyond her understanding. Their brainwave patterns are harmonizing at frequencies we've never recorded in human subjects. Alexander watched in awe as the 12 children began to glow with the now familiar blue luminescence, but far more intensely than in previous sessions. It emanated not just from their joined hands, but from their entire bodies, creating overlapping fields of light that merged and flowed between them in complex patterns. Simultaneously, the perception barrier around the facility intensified, becoming visible as a dome of shimmering energy that extended outward from the central chamber. On security monitors, they could see the search teams growing confused and disoriented as the barrier affected their minds, causing them to circle away from the facility without ever registering its presence. For 42 minutes, the process intensified steadily. The children remained conscious but in an altered state, their eyes open but seeing beyond the physical room, their bodies present but somehow connected to something vast and distant. They occasionally spoke, not to those monitoring them, but to each other in fragmented sentences that seemed part of a larger conversation happening on a level Alexander couldn't access. "The pathways are opening," Lily announced suddenly, her voice resonating with harmonics that made the air vibrate. "We can see them all now, all the others like us around the world." "How many?" Alexander couldn't help asking, though he wasn't sure she could hear him in her current state. "Hundreds," came Harper's reply, her eyes fixed on something invisible to others. "Maybe thousands, most with smaller abilities, undeveloped, but part of the network. We're reaching them, showing them the way." "The anchors are connecting," Mason added, blood trickling unnoticed from his nose. "Paris, Mumbai, Lagos, Sydney, Santiago. Other groups like us, smaller but stable." Alexander exchanged glances with Dr. Mitchell, who was frantically documenting everything. The implications were staggering. Not just these 12 children, but others around the world simultaneously experiencing the convergence, guided by the anchoring presence of this primary group. At precisely the 50-minute mark, the process reached a critical threshold. The blue energy connecting the children suddenly intensified, becoming almost blinding in its brilliance. The copper lines and crystals pulsed with power that caused the monitoring equipment to short out in cascading failures. "Neural recalibration beginning," Dr. Mitchell reported, switching to backup systems. "This is the critical phase Michael Walker described." The children's bodies went rigid, their backs arching as if in pain. Alexander moved instinctively to intervene, but James held him back. "We can't interfere," he reminded Alexander. The journals were explicit about this phase. Any disruption now could cause permanent damage. For agonizing minutes, Alexander watched helplessly as the children endured what appeared to be intense pain. Their faces contorted, tears streaming from their eyes, yet they remained in position, held there by forces stronger than their physical discomfort. Then, precisely 68 minutes after it began, the process reached its culmination. The blue energy contracted suddenly, drawing inward from the dome protecting the facility, flowing back through the copper lines and crystals to concentrate in the center of the children's circle. There it formed a pulsing sphere of light that hung suspended between them, growing smaller but more intense until it resembled a miniature star. As one, the children raised their hands toward this sphere. When they spoke, their voices blended into a single harmonic tone. "We accept this gift and the responsibility it brings. We will guard the pathways, guide the seekers, and honor the connection between what is and what could be." The sphere pulsed once more, blindingly bright, then expanded outward in a silent wave that passed through everyone in the facility before continuing beyond, invisible but somehow tangible even to those without special abilities. In its wake, the children collapsed, the geometric pattern breaking as they fell unconscious onto the cushioned floor. Medical staff rushed forward, checking vital signs and administering emergency care where needed. "They're stable," Dr. Mitchell announced after tense minutes of assessment. "Exhausted, some physical trauma from the neurological stress, but nothing life-threatening. They're in a deep recuperative state now." Alexander knelt beside Lily, gently brushing hair from her face. Her expression in unconsciousness was peaceful, The tension and preternatural awareness that had marked her features for so long temporarily softened into childhood again. "How long until they wake?" he asked. "Hours, possibly days," Dr. Mitchell replied. "Their systems have undergone profound changes. They need time to integrate." Outside, the search teams had dispersed entirely, their coordination broken by the wave of energy that had washed over them. Monitoring systems showed them retreating in confusion, communications disrupted, their unified purpose fragmented. "It's over?" James asked, surveying the aftermath of the event. "The convergence itself, yes," Alexander answered, remembering Michael Walker's journals. "But what comes next is just beginning." Over the following days, the children woke one by one, each experiencing a similar pattern of disorientation, followed by dawning comprehension of what had occurred. Their abilities remained but had transformed. More stable, less physically taxing, and with an intuitive control that hadn't existed before. Most significantly, the weaving that had once required conscious effort and proximity now existed as a permanent connection between them, a subtle awareness of each other that transcended physical distance. "It's like a background hum," Lily explained a week after the convergence, sitting with Alexander on the facility's observation deck overlooking the mountains. "I can feel all of them, all the time, but it doesn't overwhelm me anymore. I can focus on it when I need to, or let it fade into the background when I don't." "And the others around the world? The ones you connected with during the convergence? They're there too, more distant but still connected. Some are already finding their way to the locations we showed them, gathering points where they can learn to understand what they've become." Alexander studied her carefully. Though still physically an 8-year-old child, something fundamental had shifted in her presence, a new equilibrium between the extraordinary awareness she carried and her human experience. "What happens now, Lily? Where do we go from here?" She smiled, a genuine expression of hope that transformed her solemn face. "We build something new, not just a sanctuary for children like us, but a network to help guide the changes that are coming." The convergence wasn't an end point, it was a beginning. Changes? What kind of changes? Subtle ones at first, more children born with abilities, more people developing sensitivity to energies they couldn't perceive before. It won't be dramatic or sudden. Evolution rarely is, but over time human consciousness will expand in ways most people can't imagine yet. And your role in this evolution? To help it happen harmoniously, to prevent fear and misunderstanding from turning gifts into weapons. Her expression grew serious. "That's why they wanted to control us, you know. They sensed what was coming and saw only the potential for power, not the potential for growth." Alexander thought of the massive corporate and governmental resources that had been deployed to capture these children, all that effort to control an evolutionary process that ultimately could not be contained. "We'll need help," he acknowledged. "Protection, resources, guidance." "We already have the most important resource," Lily replied, taking his hand in her small one. "Someone who sees us as children first and abilities second, someone who protected without trying to control." The simple trust in her gesture moved Alexander deeply. What had begun as an encounter with a strange child in a train station had transformed into the most profound purpose he had ever known. In the valley below, he could see the other children engaged in various activities, some practicing their abilities with newfound control, others simply playing as children should. They had endured extraordinary challenges and carried responsibilities beyond their years, yet they had retained their essential humanity. "Your father would be proud," Alexander told Lily softly, "not just of what you accomplished, but of who you've remained through it all." "He knew what was coming," she replied, "not all of it, but enough to prepare the way. Now it's our turn to prepare for what comes next." As the sun set over the mountains, casting long shadows across the facility that had sheltered them through their transformation, Alexander felt a profound sense of both ending and beginning. The convergence had passed, but its effects would ripple outward through generations to come. These remarkable children, Lily, Mason, Olivia, Ethan, Zoe, Daniel, Harper, Ryan, Sophia, Michael, and the Taylor twins, would stand at the center of that ripple, guiding and shaping it with wisdom beyond their years. And he would stand with them, protecting their childhood even as they helped shepherd humanity toward its next evolution, a future where the extraordinary became possible and the impossible became simply the next horizon to explore. "The best is yet to come," Lily whispered, echoing his thoughts as she often did. And we'll face it together.